Okay, I think we are in business. Thank you, everybody. Welcome to Nunku and everybody. Nunku is with us at Wits since 2019. Before that, she was finishing her PhD in Stellenbosch, where she learned a lot about metamorphism. And in particular, she had a study area in the Limpopo. And when she joined here, she became lecturer in metamorphic petrology. And actually, she's our expert in the TIMA. And I'm very happy to hear more about this and looking forward to this talk. And now, without further ado, I leave this to Nunku. The power, versatility, and pitfalls of automated mineralogy, the Wits TIMA and at the WAM lab. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining my talk. As Linda just introduced, I'm Nonkuselo, also popularly known around here as Nonku. So yes, I will be teaching you today how the TIMA works and also, of course, the pitfalls of using TIMA. Okay, so I just thought I should introduce TIMA, what TIMA is, right? As any other family of the automated mineralogy, things like MLA and QuemScan, TIMA is also part of that family. It is the latest version of the family, which was developed to design and was designed to quantify very fast different samples, ranging from metallurgy, mineralogy, geology, and even archaeological samples, as I just recently saw. I'll share with you later. And then in geology, it was not used as much compared to metallurgy and also in mineralogy. So how does it work? It actually utilizes both the EDX and the BSC signals to firstly identify, measure, and also to create the images of the minerals. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this image here. This is our own TIMA adverts. We have this small baby here. We have one spectrometer, the EDX, and we have our backscattered electron detector. This is a secondary detector. We also have the retractable CL detector, and also the mounted CL within the BSC detector, right? Okay, as I just said now, once the images are created, then what happens is that these images are analyzed using the EDX, right? To quantify the model composition of the minerals within the samples in terms of the volume, the weight and the mass percentage of the phases present in the sample, as well as also studying about the mineral association, the relationship in textures. These include the grain sizes, the mineral association, the liberation, as well as mineral locking. So in this case, firstly, it uses the BSC image is firstly analyzed. You can see in this image here. I'm sure you can. Oh yeah, you can see that, yes. So the BSC image is firstly captured. This is done so that you can define the boundaries between the minerals more precisely, as well as to locate a central point where the EDX can be, analysis can be done, right? And then after that, the EDX, a mesh is also applied in the image. And also after that, the areas of similar EDX and the BSC are instantly segmented, as you can also see here in the segmentation. Yes, see here in the segmentation. So what it does is actually compares the BSC signals as well as the EDX to segment the area that have the match between the two. And then after that, then you have your phase map. So works with density contrast, composition of the minerals to give you the map, right? So have different analyses that we can analyze. We can do the model analysis. We can also do liberation as well as a bright first search. So when you count also the different modes, we also do within the high resolution mapping, the dot mapping, line mapping, and also point spectrometer. Here at VERS, we've been using, or even many people have been using this tool, the dot mapping as well as the high resolution. When it comes to the model analysis, it is important to know that it can only be done in high resolution. Whereas the liberation and bright first search, you can also do in dot mapping and also in high resolution mode. So once you get your minerals by combining the EDX and the BSC spectra, in some cases, of course, these minerals are compared with the library, right? There's a mineral library. This is actually a theoretical minerals you find in the textbook, and in some cases, the user can even add them. What I want to stress in this slide is the fact that minerals in nature don't occur as perfectly as you see in the textbook. So in some cases, the match cannot be as accurate. There can be some, for example, contamination of the elements. Think about if you're analyzing a mineral that is closest to quartz, you can have contamination of the silica within that. And then now what happens when you want to match your unknown with the database, in some cases, it gives you the list of minerals, right? So it's very, very important for the person who's using TIMA to study under the optical or light microscope, do that petrographic work very well, and then plan your TIMA work before you can actually analyze your sample. It helps a lot because sometimes you can judge based on the fact that the spectra, the minerals that are present here are actually not what you know. And then in that case, you can add your own. Roger did a lot of that by adding the clay minerals, because some of them were not present in our database. So it's very, very important. And I'll just discuss briefly the different types of the modes and what they do. I think my slide moved a bit here. So yeah, but I'm sure you'll be able to see, and I also read it. So for the modern analysis, as I said, we do at high resolution. And what we get out of it, you can get the mineral composition that can be in the form of the proportion of the minerals that are present in your sample in percentage, as well as the elements in bar composition, right? As well as the mineral sizes and also the tertiary relationship. So this is an example of the image on how the mode analysis works. In case of the liberation analysis, in addition to mineral composition, mineral sizes, as well as the tertiary relationship, you can also do the mineral liberation. The people who do mineralogy and metallurgy, they want to understand how liberated their ore is, right? You can also do that, as well as get the textile information of individual crystals. Whereas the bright first search here, we search for things like gold, the platinum group elements, as well as datable phases. Datable phases, in particular, monazite and zircon. We cannot search for apatite simply because its BSC value is similar to the silicate minerals. Therefore, it's very difficult to scan it through. And also, it's very important to understand that when you're searching for the phases, you define the BSC value. So you just search whatever the BSC value give it, and then of course you can get the spectrum. It's easier to do so for gold, but these things were designed actually for things like gold and platinum group elements. Okay, so these are the different type of the samples you can analyze. When it comes to the section blocks, we can do in 25 millimeter and 30 millimeter, and the standard thin section 27 by 47 millimeter as well. Oh, Linda. Yeah.
So that's not a bright field. So
we're going to go back to local.
So I think we are back here. Oh, yeah. An exciting coach.
So I think I would then have to work from, obviously with difficult, can I use this one? But this is
You
off.
actually have to use the mouse.
But this one is not. It's fine, I can read from there.
But I don't understand why this is off. So,
Press F5.
F5, right?
no, it's just that we don't have the screen. We don't have the image on the screen.
There you go.
I'll just, but how do I move? How do I control that? Do I control it on this? Oh, yeah. Okay, don't worry, Linda. I think I'll just read off from there.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but is anyone ever used this screen? Because it doesn't work the computer, and I don't know which is the setting here.
Just pull the keyboard out.
No, the keyboard is out.
Yeah, just use the down arrow.
Linda, I'm on Zoom. I can see screen clearly with the versatility and so on. Flow. I can see that one. Why not you can see there?
Yeah, we don't. It doesn't work. This the computer screen, and I don't know which is the setting here.
Okay, you have to ask. Grant is not around, isn't it?
No, I'm sorry. This is why we have all the issues tonight.
Yeah,
So
because the big man is not there. Sorry for that.
So can you please just give us a few minutes? We'll sort this out. Please don't leave the presentation.
Okay.
Hi, Linda. Linda, you know, can you hear me, Linda? The same problem.
I thought he said he could see this.
Can you see Linda?
Can you see the screen? No, I think they can see the screen.
Oh, I don't know
I
if they can
think.
see. I think it's
Yeah.
fine.
That's just fine, yeah.
I think it's fine. Don't know if they can see it. Don't worry. Sorry, guys. Lynch is off, hybrid. We are all learning. So, yeah, okay. So here, as I was saying, we have different samples. These ones are the section of blocks. So they can be in two different sizes, right? You have the 25 mil and also the 30 mil. So our sample holder takes those two. If it's bigger, then you won't be able to fit. And so the thin section. So here, how it works then is that once you have your thin section or your section block, then you coat using carbon or the gold coater. And then in that, the coating is at 10 nanometer in thickness, so it's very small. And then from there, you can select an area of interest as well as the mode. So you want to do high resolution or dot mapping, or do you want to do liberation or bright first search and so on. And then also it's very important to also choose the fields, the width, right? The bigger those fields there, the difficult it becomes to segregate the minerals. It's like those ones are doing mineral liberation. It becomes tricky because it will be cost, then it's not easier than to segregate the minerals, right? Another important thing is the pixel spacing. The pixel spacing ranges from 1 micron. So the beauty of the TIMA compared to the other families like things like QuantScan and LMA, here we can do up to 1 micron per pixel. Therefore, we can also get your fine-grained things like the PGMs as well as the gold particles, right? Once you get that, then it's analyzed and you get your phase map. Again, it's comparing with the library in this one here. And ultimately, you get your composition. It's very, very important to also check the spectra. Sometimes you can randomly identify. So you spend a lot of time trying to refine the product by confirming the minerals if it says what it is. Sometimes it likes to think like a solid solution. If it's a garnet, it doesn't know the difference between the pyro and iron-rich garnet combined compared to the N-acetylide, for example. If it's a magnesium-rich garnet, just gives it as autopyroxene. So as a person who knows your sample, it becomes then your duty to understand, listen, I know my sample, at least I can have autopyroxene here. But again, in most cases, it does a very good job. And also these are different samples of the truth here. I found that very interesting. Okay, so I want to also mention here about the beauty as well as the pitfalls of using the TIMA. So if you can see here, this is a BSC image. So this is what you scan first to get, right? So ultimately you want your phase map to match with the BSC image. And yeah, in some cases it doesn't match, especially if you are doing things like where the minerals are very close in chemistry. For example, KK can also comment on this, something like phosphorite and serpentine, right? In this case, these guys, they wanted to mimic these textures because they were never done before. They wanted to test the power of the TIMA to see if we can actually map the serpentine around the olivine. So this is actually from Ulrich University in Switzerland. I was working a lot with Rebecca here. And so what the initial product was this. So you can see this and this are totally different, right? So the TIMA, you know what, everything there is, so as long as they're similar in chemistry, I'll give it one phase. Then you have to kind of spend a lot of time doing the data reduction, making sure that this actually doesn't become this becomes ultimately to this level. So what we did here, Rebecca provided me with the EPMA data. So instead of using the library, I combined the EPM data for both the olivine and serpentine, and as well as instead of working with the energy intensities, we also work with the different BSC levels. As you can see here, the olivine is slightly brighter than the serpentine. Therefore, we're able to use also the BSC levels to make sure she gets this image. And this was scanned at 1 pixel per micron. So that also played a huge part. It was done in high resolution. And you can see the pretty phase map is magnesium. You can see there's opaque zoning in magnesium here. The olivine is zoned, and you can see around this serpentine, but even the olivine still shows some zoning. Okay, so these are Roger sampling the students. So these are pseudotacharites. Those who know that these are very, very fine grained. So they couldn't identify these just using the petrographic information, right? It was very difficult to even see what these minerals are. And especially in this case, because the pseudotacharites also underwent hydrothermal alteration. So they're very, very fine grained particles. And some of these minerals that are present here were not, we didn't have them in our database. Therefore, we had to input them in this. But you can see here, we have the orthoclase veins, right? You can see the scale. These are not big at all. So there's the orthoclase vein, and then the element map, you can see the proteasium here, and you can also see in the magnesium, even though it's not showing, but yeah. And then in this region here, they have zeolites. And then the zeolites, they're very, very fine grained particles, but you can see all these very fine particles there. And this is just a BSC image. So we also, with a lot of processing done, managed to match this one with that one. So it's a very good thing to do because they're very fine grained, and also the different minerals that we didn't have in our database. And these are also different samples again. Here we also had what I want to show was actually this garnet here, the under the garnet, and there's a solution of the plagioclase within that. So there was no way that they could be able to see this under the normal microscope. And again, if you do EPMA, it will be difficult because you can see the BSC doesn't show much. So it's very important. And these ones here are carbon samples. Anna, she's also here, and Zubair, we're trying to understand the amount of dolomites within these carbonates. And you can see that there's a dolomite which is yellow and calcite, which is the pink, and the rest is quartz. And then the element map here of the, in this case is actually the magnesium. And then there's a BSC image. So the BSC image is just like everything is similar, but once you do the map, you can see the different phases present. And then these ones here, again, these are the meteorite samples, where we also have mostly olivine and some iron oxides. So the yellow iron oxides, And I'm not sure if you can see these beautiful textures here. I found them cool. This is a silica map. This is magnesium. You can see the round with some things inside, even in this one here, where it shows the beautiful textures within this. So now the guys who are doing economic geology, they're always interested in gold. They want to understand how liberated the gold is. Where, in what manner is it locked? Is it easy to liberate eventually? So here they did gold. You can see the red here is a gold crystal, and then there is also pyrite, right? And this is element map of gold. And here you can see there's also the path overlapping elements. In this case, I overlap the silica and the gold element map, where you can see the gold is mostly associated with the quartz, or closer associated with the quartz. So what I want to also stress out here is that, especially with those guys who are doing bright first search, right? Someone comes and they analyze, they choose a different line of gold, see bright things everywhere, they get excited, right? And then only to find out that maybe they come and the following day, then there's no more gold. No, what happened to my gold? They become so not happy. But it's very important to understand that the zircon and the gold, so the M line of the gold overlaps with the K line of the zirconium. It happens a lot in the heavy rare earth as well as some of the rare earth elements. So it's important to make sure that you actually analyze, don't just rely on seeing the particles. Understand what line you chose. In gold, always choose the N line because it doesn't overlap with zirconium. They're actually the same. If you choose the M line of the gold, it will overlap with zirconium. It is very important. So I showed it here. One of the Glenn students, they had to save the spectrum to convince people that these are in fact gold particles. They are not just zircons. Yeah, and also there's more information you can get from here. For example, you can also understand the locking of the gold, right? So you analyze that you have your gold particle in the x-axis. You want to understand in what manner the gold is locked in. For example, in this case, you can see that quartz, 35% of the quartz, so most of the gold is locked within quartz, and then about 20% occurs free gold in the sample, and then the rest is within the pyrite. But this is a piece of image, it's like a small part of it, but you can see around here most of the gold. This is pyrite actually, but most of the gold is also with the quartz. And then in terms of the mineral proportions here, the elemental proportion, you see that gold is what associated with the quartz. The 35% of the quartz here actually matches with this one in the map. This is a locking here, and then the association here. You can also determine what mineral is the gold associated with. So it works with gold and then platinum group elements and the rare earth elements, mostly this information. And these ones are Bernie samples. They were analyzing the tracking. These are more olivine rich, and there's pyrrhotite and also on. What I found interesting was the fact that the copper map shows some patches on. You can see there's more of the copper, and here, whereas here there's nothing. And here's the iron map, also showing some variety of the samples. And now we go to the people who are always like the coal guys, fly ash. These are the core samples. They always want to know the amount, the distribution of the rare earth elements within their sample, right? What I want to stress from those one is that here, what is the sample preparation is very, very important. So if it's a poor sample preparation, something that is like this is very poorly done, meaning that you won't be able to get the representativity of your stuff. This is a very good example of the good sample preparation, right? So people, and also this one is a fly ash from Chris. So he wanted to know the distribution of the vanadium within the fly ash. Where is it associated with what minerals, right? And then the black stuff, which will be just calcium-rich phases. And then the yellow, so what we did to make this more reasonable was they're extremely fine-grained. I grouped all the iron oxide and clay-rich minerals so that you can see vanadium is associated with what minerals. It's much better. So this guy, they come, we really want to see the association, and they get something like this. I mean, there's no way you would know what, for example, this is European, where in what grade here. So what is important then is to group the minerals so that it will be much better. And something like this as well is good, but they are very fine grained. And these take a long time. Okay? So this was done at dot mapping. Usually you have to do something like 3 micron per pixel. And if you want to do high resolution, take like 100 hours. So you cannot afford. So what I always advise is just to do the normal dot mapping to see roughly where your rare earth or whatever the element you're interested in is associated with within here. But if you want to now do further, then you can do a small area and then you do high resolution. Then you can get the information as to what mineral is associated with what. Yeah, but poor sample preparation, it must be avoid spaces in between. So good. Okay, so we have these cool, they don't show it nice here, but they're very nice. So here we're doing, Leo was actually doing the CL images of quartz. You can see here your quartz is just 1 grain. They're meant to do a CL image, beautiful zoning of different quartz grains. Very, very nice. So you can see the growth of quartz, different, yeah. So this you can actually, you can even do this a map. Let's say you have a phase map, and if, let's say you want to see the titanium, then you can put your CL image. You can also put your BSC as well as your element map. The beauty of this. And this interesting one, this gentleman also gave me, apparently analyzing tooth samples. So here you can see, this is like a tooth, apparently this is a human tooth. And because the tooth is mostly made up of apatite, right? It's calcium and phosphate, so it gives us apatite, the mineral. But you can see the zoning from the calcium. So the calcium rich outside, and then here will be more magnesium rich as the inverse. So this was actually the more phosphate inside, the calcium on the outside, right? And here it doesn't show now, but here, this one is an animal tooth, is what you're telling me. And you can see here the patchy zoning of the magnesium and the calcium. So you explained to me that the reason for this, he thinks, is because the humans, they lose their tooth, but animals, their tooth grow progressively. That is why then it shows this zoning. Okay, this is about it. Thank you so much. You can find me there, my email address. And if you want to request, you can also ask me and then you can put in our online booking system. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Nonku. I'm glad that you show us this interesting sample, how how much you can use this machine for different things. Is there any question from the audience? Please, Scott.
With the quartz, was that a titanium map that you were showing that had the zoning?
So that's also the CL map.
Oh, that's the CL.
The CL image. But I'm saying that because versus the growth there. That's if you want to know what element that causes the growth zoning, you can actually do the imaging high resolution. So the mapping high resolution, so you can also map the information and see why it's growing in that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please, Sharad.
No, can you tell us which elements cannot be analyzed using this?
Something like lithium, the light elements, like lithium, beryllium, and all of those things cannot be analyzed, right? And some of the elements, most of them can be analyzed, but of course the lighter one can be analyzed. Yeah. And some of the head ones just have to spend a lot of time because there's overlapping. So yeah, I don't like people when they come in a month, they want to say tomorrow, I'm graduating, I want my data. You want to be able to utilize the instrument which is best. So give yourself time, give your students time. That's, I mean, beginning of the year, January, December, January, February, I'm always here, early Jan, always, yeah, motivated students to come because this time of the year, things become very hectic. So we won't get anything done because our honors are mostly our priority. Yeah.
Okay, in cases where in my samples I have fossils,
Yes.
like it's the remains of fossils, and mostly they're made of carbon, but I
Yes.
want to see the shape and the orientation. Can I actually use TIMA for that? Does it detect any carbon?
Yes, as long as you coat with that gold instead of the
I
calcium.
have to go to it.
Yeah, yeah. And then even with the element map, actually detect the carbon, but just have to know that, you know, pinch of salt don't know how much of it is actually the carbon. But if you coat with gold, then it's good. It will be able to identify. Yes.
I wanted to ask about the coding. You know, it seems like there's a lot of information that's coming out that's just standard.
Yes.
But is it saving, for example, the comparison of the libraries? And can you get an idea of how good the matches are, such that you develop libraries that are unique to particular areas for identification purposes?
Yes, it's actually possible. So how this works is that it takes a grain, right? And then it does different spectrum in low counts, and it averages all of them. It's like 3,000 spectrum, and it averages all of them to give you a perfect high count. That's how it actually works. And then yes, you can actually have your unique library. The moment you analyze the things, you can save them, and that becomes your own playground.
So could you extract those intermediary libraries to analyze offline if you wanted to?
Yeah, you also offline, and also you can also import data from XRF, CPMS, as well as micropop analysis within that, and then try to compare. There again, it's important to make sure that sample representativity, because remember, if we are doing XRF and then you have one block randomly and one things to match, unfortunately they won't match. You have to plan things in advance. I want to compare, then do the sample collection accordingly.
So there is a question from the audience, and they wonder about the tooth. The tooth will take longer for the vacuum to stabilize when you put
So
it
I'll
in.
actually ask this gentleman, can you please come and answer that question? That is the sample. I think it will be much better to give the student opportunity to also.
Yes. If when you put the tooth sample into the machine, if it took longer for the vacuum to stabilize, so yeah.
Well, honestly, the time when I put the teeth, it was the first time I used TIMA, so I don't know if it's longer. But from what I understand, it was not particularly longer. There was no degassing. The vacuum just went well, slowly, but at the right speed. So not particularly long. The one long thing that happened is that since we were a little afraid that the electron beam could damage the teeth, we tested in several voltages for the electron beam, and we went little by little and to make sure it was not damaging. That was the only long thing. But now that we have checked, and even at 25 kilovolts, it's okay. The next time I put teeth in the TIMA, I will just go with that.
Thanks, everybody. I take the last question, please,
Yes.
Roger.
How do you see this integrating now with the other microbeam techniques in the school, in the other labs? Do we have a system which will geo-reference the sample, and you can literally take your images? So for instance, the CL image, looking then for titanium in quartz or stuff like that, everyone will know exactly where they are, where the laser's going. So is that capability there now, or are we building towards it?
It's actually the plan now. And especially when we tested with Rebecca's samples to see that sometimes you need more, and also with the fly ash samples, where they wanted to compare with the XRF and the TIMA, then saying that I'm progressively improving the database. Yeah.
Okay, you can reach out to Nonku anytime. She's always welcoming new collaboration and new questions. So please thank everybody. Thanks to Nonku.
No, Linda, sorry.
I will also thank John Enkels.
No, you didn't give us chance online. Can I raise my question and some comments to Nonku?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to give that one, because not only audience there are a lot of people listening from outside. So Nonku, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Very good. Beautiful. Sisi Nonku, thank you very much for what you have done so far. And the lab initiated long ago with different purposes and so on by Roger. And you have done a lot of things. Now, my question to you is just not scientific, not the course, olivine, whatever. That's very scientific. But what you plan in the future to develop is a lab to be more fruitful and practical for the school. Do you have any new space in the new expansion that is being undertaken in the lab or for the future? Because you are working currently in very small space. What's your plan? What do you have in mind, and what you have discussed with authorities? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much. So now, actually, our collaboration has grown quite a lot. We have guys from chemical engineering from Stellenbosch University who are very interested, already have their samples here, UJ, UP, and so different schools, right? And also the Wits chemical engineering, as well as the School of Geosciences. But what I'm trying to do is to buy more detectors, because that will help us to analyze, instead of having like 100 hours, then it can be done maybe in 10 hours, right? So the more detectors we have, the better, because there are actually spaces in the machine that we can have more detectors. And of course, opening the collaboration, which is, yeah, progressing well.
Yeah, but do you have any business plan? That's what I want to know, because all labs in the future will be requested to have a business plan. How can we generate our funds and sponsor students, expand the labs and so on? You know, I've got also one lab. So what do you plan is that in that regard?
Actually, the plan was to get LIBS, right? The instrument LIBS, where we can collaborate with the TIMA. They work better, but LIBS looks at a very large scale. You can scan the full section, I mean the full core, and then you can also link that with the TIMA. And that is more scientific planning of integrating this. I'm not sure if that works.
No, beautiful. Thank you very much. We'll chat in the future, but very, very good. Thank you very much for your talk.
Okay, thanks everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye. Bye.